Kalpitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadanti Svapadanti Kam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasada Gaura Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Wow, what a pleasure to be here with all of you, seeing you chant and dance so enthusiastically to the Maha mantra. Yeah, I've been in India for a number of years now, and I just came back because the pandemic slowed down, so they say. And my first opportunity to be back in America after many years, and seeing so many of the youth, especially taking up Krishna consciousness. This is natural, of course. There's many ancient texts in India, many scriptures which describe the process of self-realization. One is called Vedanta Sutra. It's kind of a summary of all the wisdom of the ancient rishis and yogis and sages. And it begins with the text, Atato Brahma Jignasya. Now that we've come to the human form of life, now is the time for spiritual inquiry or spiritual enlightenment. And it stresses that in this entire creation that we live in, little corner, there's 8,400,000 species of life. It's interesting because I think our scientists have discovered 320,000. So if these ancient scriptures say there's 8,400,000 species of life, it means there's probably life on other planets. Not as we know it, but there's life there. Just like we can't live under the water, but fish can live there very easily. And there's even types of microbes that can even survive fire. So we shouldn't think there's not life on other planets because we can't live there. So life is spread throughout the entire creation, actually. 8,400,000 species of life. But the ancient texts of India, the yogis, the rishis, they stress that the human form of life is the most valuable. We've got it pretty good, Prabhus. 8,400,000 species of life, and this is the most important. And why is that? Because the Creator gave us what we say in Sanskrit, buddhi. We've heard of Buddha. Everyone's heard of Buddha. Little statues of Buddha everywhere now in modern society. Buddha means the intelligent one. So we all have a little buddhi, intelligence. And this is actually a gift of the Creator, the Supreme, the Divine God. It's a gift to all of us. Actually, He gives a little something special to every species of life. Every species of life has something unique. Like bears. Bears, they can sleep 6 months of the year. They don't have to get up and go to school or go to work by nature's way. They can sleep 6 months a year. Butterflies, they're always beautiful. They don't have to put on their makeup and take it off. They're always beautiful. So every creature has something unique, and what we have is intelligence. And you can see that we've done, human beings have done amazing things with our intelligence in the last 100 or 200 or even 300 years. We have science, we have technology, we have medicine. I mean, it makes life a bit easier. That's nice. But the Shastras and the mystics and the rishis and the yogis, they say that intelligence has been given to us for a higher purpose. And what could that be beyond science and medicine and space travel and whatever? They say that intelligence is meant to go within, and discover our deeper spiritual nature. That's really the purpose of the human form of life. beyond, going to school and getting a career and getting married and getting a house and, putting away a pension and retiring. The higher purpose of life is, because we have this intelligence, is to go within and discover our deeper spiritual nature. We all have a deeper spiritual nature. Within this body is a spiritual force. You hear about the force. There's a spiritual force within the body. There's a spark of life. In Sanskrit, in India, we say Atma, or Atman. It denotes soul. And that's who we really are. That's spiritual. And you're meant to discover it. That's the real journey. That's the real adventure. To go within and discover who you actually are. Because unless you know who you are, you don't know how to live life in such a way as to find the peace, the satisfaction, the happiness we're all looking for. It's kind of like the first question. You hear it all the time: who am I? Where did I come from? What's the purpose of life? Does God exist? Is there life after death? Everyone can ask these questions and find the answers. Who am I? Of course, in my travels around the world, I often meet people and I pose that question: who are you? And 99.9% of the time they say, here I am. I'm the body. Right? You wake up in the morning, and if you had a good sleep, there's no wrinkles, I'm looking pretty good. I had a good tan at the beach the other day. Or I had a bad night, I got out of the left side of the bed, and I don't look good, I look all grumpy, I don't want to go to work. But both those ideas are wrong. It's a misconception, because we're not the body. Actually, people talk a lot about self-realization. This is the first step in the science of self-realization, to understand I am not the body. So how do we understand that? Well, just think about what the body's made of. It's made of matter in different ways: skin, bones, blood, mucus, hairs. It's made of matter, and matter is not conscious. It's not living. There's so many material things here. This is a nice place. Looks like an old church. There's the floor. There's the walls. There's the curtains. There's the cloth you're wearing. There's your watch. It's all material, and it's not conscious. It's not living. Matter's inert. It's not living. I mean, anyone can understand that. So what's your body made of? The same stuff. It's made of matter. So, put it together where the body's not living. So what makes the body look like it's alive? It's the soul of the body. The spirit soul is living. Like a car. You've got here I've seen in Southern California, Porsche, Mercedes, BMWs, plenty of them in Laguna. Nice cars, but it means nothing unless there's a conscious driver. Same with the body. It's a vehicle made of material energy. And inside is that driver, and that's who we actually are. These are very simple lessons, but they're important to learn. It's like the 101 of, science of self-realization. When you talk about your body, you don't say I hand, I arm, I head, I body. You say my hand, my arm, my head, my body, right? You don't say I body. I hand wants that. I sees you. No, my hand, my eyes, my nose, my body. Who's the me? Who's the me? No, my body. Who's the me? We have to come to this point. I mean, we're not, we don't think of ourselves as philosophers, going to school and getting a degree in philosophy, but a little philosophy makes sense in life so we can plan out how to achieve our higher goal. So that self is there within. And what is the nature of that self? Well, Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita that soul is 1/10,000th the tip of a hair in dimension. Where in Western culture do you get the dimension of that Atman, that spirit, that spark? 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. And Krishna says that soul is situated in the region of the heart. This is where you are, here. Like when you talk about yourself, you go, I want to tell you. You don't point to your ear. Or to your little toe. I want to tell, you look at his knee. Hey, listen to me. You point to your chest. Because intuitively, we know we're here. But we need help to understand it. Just like any science, any field of knowledge, I remember when I tried to play guitar when I was a kid. Got the guitar and I watched a few, movies and saw how the guy put his fingers there. And, it took me 2 weeks to learn the chords G, C, and E minor. Then I went to a teacher. And within 3 days, I knew all the chords. So it's the same with the science of self-realization. In one very important book, Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Krishna 5,000 years ago, he says, Tadvidi paripatena paripashana sevaya upadekshanti teganam jnaninaśtat vidarshanaha. Try to learn, try to discover these deeper, subtle truths by approaching a spiritual teacher. Inquire from him submissively, render him some service. The self-realized souls, the saints, the rishis, the yogis, they can explain these things. They can show you these things by their sharing their knowledge. So this is who we are, the spark of life. And what is the nature of that soul? Would you say it's more than a soul? We're spiritual persons. We're spiritual persons. What is the nature of that spiritual person? To be happy. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Just like the intrinsic nature of sugar is that it's sweet. The intrinsic nature of salt is it's salty. The intrinsic nature of sugar is that it's sweet. You can't separate sugar from sweetness or sweetness from sugar. That's what it is. So what is your intrinsic nature? The essence of your being? To be happy. Like, how do we know that? Well, the test is, we're always looking for happiness, and we're trying to avoid problems and distress and trauma and whatever. Isn't it? Our whole life's we're making choices. Do you go to the store and make a choice to buy some poison? No, you want some ice cream. We're always looking for something to make ourselves happy. It's so logical. Spiritual knowledge, when it's explained in an authoritative way from ancient teachings and those who represent those teachings, the spiritual teachers, the spiritual masters, it's just, it's a no-brainer. It just makes sense. We want to be happy. Now, are we happy? Yes and no, if we're honest. We can go to the the advertising market and put a big smile on to sell some toothpaste. You see the girl. We can be like that and try to fool people. But actually, this is a world of duality. Up and down, black and white, yes and no. Happiness and distress. So that's a problem, because we are created to always be happy. Not sometimes and then a little bit no. We're created to be always happy. But the problem is we're just trying to satisfy the senses, this material body. We think we're the body, so we think the more pleasure I can give my senses, the happier I'll be. But it doesn't work. I've traveled the world. I've been in almost every country of the world in the last 50 years. I've met kings and queens and rock stars and scientists and all types of people who are successful. But they often say to me, Swami, I've got everything. I've got everything, but I'm not happy. What's missing? So, instead of just a big philosophical talk, I give an analogy. I actually saw it with my own eyes. One day there was this guy walking down the street, and he went past a pet store, and there was this cage hanging outside the pet store, how they do sometimes. They put the pets so you can see the puppy dogs and little birdies. Mommy, I want one. You know, there was a cage outside. And there's this beautiful parrot inside the cage. So this man, he became, enchanted with this cage. So he walked into the store and he asked the store owner, "How much is the cage?" The store owner scratched his head. "The cage? You mean the bird in the cage?" "The cage. It's $3,000, because it was a special parrot from South America or something." So the man said, "Oh, that's a lot to pay for a cage." Like, duh. So the guy said, "Look, if you want it, take it, otherwise out." So he was so fascinated by the cage, he put a couple $1,000 down, $2,000 or $3,000, he bought it, took it home. And being very fascinated by it, he polished it and decorated it every day, made it look very beautiful. And he invited his friends over. "Come see my cage." So his friends came over, like, "Whoa, that's a beautiful cage. Hey, what about the bird?" The man said, "What? What about the bird? The bird needs water. The bird needs something to eat." "Yeah, my cage, I'll try harder." And day by day, week by week, the bird became weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, collapsed. So this is an analogy. This is our situation. We're taking good care of the body. We should take good care of the body. It's a valuable vehicle to help us in the human form of life understand higher truths, spiritual things. But it's not the be-all and end-all of our existence. More important is that soul within. That's where real happiness lies. You always hear that term, happiness lies within. But we're chasing the happiness, ephemeral happiness, elsewhere, just material things, nothing spiritual. Just before I came here from India 2 weeks ago, I was in the foothills of the Himalayas. I know many yogis, many sages, many rishis there. They're my friends. I go and stay with them sometimes in their hermitages and their ashrams, and we do like this. We talk about spiritual stuff, we chant Hare Krishna, we cook vegetarian food, we bathe in sacred rivers like the Ganges and the Jamuna, etc., like my friends. So we're sitting there just, chanting Hare Krishna on our prayer beads, our meditation beads. And all of a sudden, we see this deer, this male deer. He runs out of the forest, and he starts running around very erratically, here and there. These deers are very shy, actually. And they have, they move stealthily. This guy was running here, ran into a tree. Like I said to my yogi friend, like, what? He ran into a tree. Then he got up and he backed off and he tumbled over a rock. And he got up and he ran and he fell into the water and came back out and just running around like that. So I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Swami, this is a lesson for you. This is the lesson for you. This is the mating season." So the musk deer, the male deer, has a small secretion that comes from his navel. Musk, real musk. Actually, they don't even market real musk because they used to kill the deer. Actually, in the ancient days, they would take a silver spoon and go into the navel of the deer and pull out these little pellets. That's the musk, and crush it and make musk perfume, oil. What you have now is musk? Fake news. Not real. That's how they do it. The yogi told me they take a silver spoon, they put it into the navel, and they pull out these little granules, they crush it and mix it with sandalwood oil, and you have musk oil. And centuries ago, all of Europe went mad with this musk. Actually, I have some musk from 1922, before it was banned. I put a little bit on my hand here. 3 days, 4 days, it smells, even after my shower. So powerful. Anyway, the male deer has this secretion which comes from his navel to attract the female. It's just nature's way for mating. But he becomes incensed with the smell himself. He's like, thinking like a deer, wow, this smells so good, where's it coming from? And he's running around looking for the source of that very beautiful smell. He becomes crazy, intoxicated by this need to find where is this smell coming from. So he's running here and running there. He doesn't realize it's within him. It's just nature's way. I mean, the she-eater finds him. But this is my point. We're similar. We're looking for happiness, and modern civilization has many ways that you can enjoy, but an honest person will question. It's not exactly what I want. What was this? What was it? Mick Jagger? I can't get no satisfaction. This is my generation. I can't get no satisfaction. I went to see him at the Avalon Ballroom in 1966 in San Francisco, the Haight-Ashbury, the hippie days. The Stones were playing there. And he was singing, I can't get no satisfaction. I saw him, well, I didn't see him because I don't go to rock concerts anymore. We have our own rock concert here. But he was playing, what was it, in Denmark I went. Just a few years ago, 40 years ago? Mick's getting pretty old. Keeps in good shape though. But I went and I walked by and I heard him singing, I can't get no satisfaction. Like, hello, it's been 50 years. So we have to go within. What does that mean? You have to satisfy the soul. What's the soul hankering for? What type of happiness does that Atman inside, what is he or she looking for? It couldn't be anything material because we already discussed that. What is he looking for? What's the highest happiness? It's love. Love is the highest happiness. I can tell you that if you have everything in this world, but you don't have someone to share it with, if you don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a husband or a wife or some kids or some good neighbors or some, tight friends, if you have everything in this world, but you don't have, someone to share it with, love, you can't be happy. I told you, so many important people have told me something's missing. But I've seen in my travels. Not long ago I was in Zululand. Zululand in near Swaziland in South Africa. The Zulu people. I like to hang with them because they're just really cool people. They, I told them, we talk a lot. The king of the Zulus, King Goodwill, he was my good friend. When we first met, he said, Swamiji, what is your name for God? For God. I said, Krishna. Oh, what does that mean? I said, it means the most beautiful person. And I said, in Zulu language, what do you call God? He said, Akulukula. So I stayed with the Zulu people for a couple of months, in their villages. And I just, it was hard to get them to chant Hare Krishna, because they just saw the Supreme, the Divine God, with a different name. It's the same. There's only one sun, but you call the sun by different names around the world in different languages. The same sun. So there's like one God, but he has many names. So he kept, I kept on saying Hare Krishna, and the Zulu people like. So I went, Akulankula, 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 and then with my harmonium, I travel with the harmonium, Akulankula, Akulankula. And I got back to India, and I was kind of tired after coming back for traveling so long, and Maharaj, you're back in Bharat, you're back in India, lead a kirtan, okay, Akulankula. You should have seen the people in Delhi, like, what happened to Swami? But the point I was getting to was that, the Zulu nation, they live a very simple life, and poor. But I saw that in the poor villages where people just sleep literally on the earth in their huts. And they don't get a lot to eat. So, there's not much medicine. It's tough life. I saw in families where, there was a nice, loving family. The husband loved the wife and the wife loved the husbands, and the kids were well cared for, and, they're getting an education, simple education, and where there was harmony and love, they were happy. They were happy. So my conclusion was, love is the highest happiness. But love in this world, the first Shakespearean play I read was Romeo and Juliet. That was a perfect loving relationship. But everything has a beginning and an end in this world. So love is not perfect here. But there is a place where love reigns supreme. It's eternal. It's full of knowledge and full of bliss. And that's in the spiritual sky. There is a spiritual sky. Real people come from there. Saints come in different spiritual traditions. There's so many spiritual traditions in this world because people are different. And it may resonate with them, this spiritual tradition, that spirit, When I travel, I stay with Franciscan monks when I'm in Germany. When I'm in the Middle East, I stay with imams, Muslims. When I'm in Tibet, or when I'm in Bhutan, I stay with Buddhist monks. That's where I got this chadar. This isn't a typical Hare Krishna color. But this was given to me by a 90-year-old Buddhist monk. We just resonated with each other. So like this, different names for God. So if we can connect to the spiritual world from where all these saintly persons come, we'll find out there's a divine lover, and that relationship is perfect. Krishna. We'll say Krishna. You've seen pictures of Krishna? How he plays his flute like this? Everything about him is beautiful. He has a color, a complexion of sky blue. His lotus eyes extend all the way to his ears. His nose is compared to a beautiful sesame flower. His lips are red like bimba fruits. It's a fruit we have in India. His teeth are set like rows of pearls. And he stands in this beautiful form playing a venu. God plays a flute. It's cool. When I was young, God was, sitting in a big chair in the sky with a long beard, suffering from arthritis. Heaven, hell. Come to church. I'm scared of him. I'm not criticizing any tradition. I'm just saying that the concept is not complete, because of course there is judgment. But beyond that, he's the divine lover. And you want your lover to be attractive. So he's very beautiful, he's very intelligent, he's very famous. We can go into detail later, but that's Krishna. So that's what this whole movement's about. Connecting with Krishna. Yoga means to yoke up, to make connection with God. And this type of yoga, where we're connecting through chanting Hare Krishna, I chose it because when I was a kid, I loved to sing, I liked to dance, I liked to eat. So when I met the Hare Krishnas, I said, how many books do I have to read? How much penance and austerities? No. You sing, you dance, and you eat. I said, I'm in. And I never looked back. I was 18, now I'm 73. So there must be something in that connection process. The connection comes from the chanting. It comes from the chanting. Because it's a little philosophical, but there's no difference between Krishna and his name. My guru said one time, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna is dancing on the tip of your tongue. When I first joined, I'd stick my tongue out, try to see him. But it's more of a poetic term, Krishna's dancing. So he's present, and why do we like to keep chanting? Even many of you boys, you don't have a clue about the philosophy maybe, or what's going on. What is it about the chanting? Because Krishna is not different than his name, and he's the reservoir of all pleasure. That's one definition of Krishna. He's a reservoir of pleasure. So if you associate with him, you become happy, and that's my point. And that's a loving relationship that grows and grows and grows ad infinitum. There's no stopping the loving relationship with Krishna. So that's a basic philosophy. and it gives you an idea why you're singing and why you're dancing. You don't even know the philosophy. I mean, some of you do, but maybe new people here. You don't know the philosophy, but it still works. It's like when you go to the doctor, and he's very educated, you have a problem. He gives you some medicine, you take it. You don't know the history of the medicine, what the chemicals, how they work. You take it with a little faith, and it works. The same thing with this chanting. You take this chanting and you try it, and you'll find that gradually, your stress, your anxiety, your fear, your doubts, all these material things, like that. There's that, in the springtime, there's that, what is it called, that? Yeah, and hey, bye, don't come back. My doubts, my fears, my anxieties, my problems. It goes away because this chanting cleanses the heart of all fear and doubt and stress. It's mystical, actually. It's mystical. It just cleanses the heart. And when the heart is cleansed, what do we find? We find this divine seed, a golden seed of bhakti, or love for Krishna. And how does the seed grow? You water it. So if you water Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. Like when you get clean, right? Like you go to the shower, for a few minutes there, I feel really good. So the first result of chanting Hare Krishna is that you become freed from material stress. And after a little while, you begin to feel happy again. And after some time, that divine love, that most cherished thing, perfect love, divine love, for the most lovable object, Krishna, it begins to grow, and you can never look back. You never look back. I'm going back to, how can I go back? This is so wonderful. So it's very nice to see all of you at different stages of chanting. I know there's some brand new people here today, so I spoke a little simply. There's those who are, been practicing for a little bit while, and so I see some advanced devotees. They're practically touching the roof here. Just to give you a little more faith in this chanting of Hare Krishna. I mean, again, I've been chanting for 50 years. The same mantra, 3 words every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. So either I'm totally crazy or I'm getting a little enlightened. Because I can't stop. You take some phrase like Coca-Cola, 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 Coca, boom, 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 Coca-Cola. How long can you go on? Because it's a mundane sound vibration. But this vibration, this mantra, Glok Prem Dan Harinam Sankirtan, it comes from that spiritual world to deliver us back home. There's no place like home. Home is where the heart is. This will take you to that destination where life is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, where every word is a song, every step is a dance, and there's a festival every day. Like this, there's a festival. There's no school and no work. You just play with Krishna in the spiritual world. So please, I just encourage you. My humble experiences I've been sharing with you, based on a solid philosophy from these ancient texts of India, and what I've learned from my spiritual master. He's the founder of this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He brought this tradition to the West. He brought this knowledge, and he brought this sublime process of singing, dancing. You guys are great dancers. And feasting. I'm sure you've had experience. So with the permission of the organizers, I'll try to sing. I'm not a very good singer, and I'm not a musician, but I got a lot of help from my friends. We get by with a little help from our friends. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.